The Forgotten Promise. Once upon a time, there was a boy named Timmy. He lived in a small town called Willowbrook. Timmy was a good boy who liked to play outside and make friends. One sunny day, Timmy saw an old man sitting on a bench in the park. The old man looked sad. Timmy felt bad for him and walked over to ask if he was okay. "Hi, are you okay?" Timmy asked with concern. The old man looked up and gave a small smile. "I'm a little sad, young boy," he replied. "Long ago, I made a promise, but I forgot about it." Curiosity filled Timmy's eyes. "What promise did you make, sir?" he inquired. The old man's face grew sadder. "I promised my wife that I would plant a beautiful garden for her, but I never did it, and now she's not here anymore." Timmy's heart sank. He understood how important promises were. After thinking for a moment, he said, "Don't worry, sir. I'll help you keep your promise." The old man seemed surprised. "You would do that for me?" he asked, his voice filled with hope. Timmy nodded. "Yes, sir. Together, we can keep your promise." So Timmy and the old man made a plan. They decided to plant a garden with colorful flowers, just like the old man had promised his wife. Timmy asked his friends for help, and they gladly agreed. After school, Timmy and his friends worked hard in the garden. They dug holes, planted seeds, and watered the flowers. Timmy wanted the flowers. Timmy wanted the garden to be as beautiful as possible, just like the old man's promise. Months passed, and the garden slowly began to grow. Pretty flowers of various colors started to bloom. Timmy and his friends were excited to see the garden come alive. They knew the old man would be happy. One day, Timmy invited the old man to see the garden. When the old man arrived, he couldn't believe his eyes. The garden was more beautiful than he had ever imagined. Tears filled the old man's eyes, and he whispered, "Thank you, Timmy. You kept my promise. My wife would have loved this garden." Timmy smiled warmly. "You're welcome, sir. Promises are important, and I wanted to help you." News spread about what Timmy had done for the old man. People in Willowbrook were amazed by his kindness. They realized the value of promises and helping others. Timmy's friends were proud of him and wanted to help others too. They formed a club called the Promise Club. Its mission was to inspire everyone in the town to keep their promises and assist those in need. The Promise Club decided to visit the local nursing home. They spent time with the elderly residents, listening to their stories and bringing them joy. The smiles on their faces showed how much they appreciated the company. The Promise Club also organized a neighborhood cleanup day. Timmy and his friends went from house to house, lending a hand with chores and picking up litter. They worked together to make the neighborhood cleaner and happier. Years went by, and Timmy and his friends continued to keep their promises and help others. Their acts of kindness did not go unnoticed. The local newspaper wrote stories about them, and they became known as the Promise Heroes of Willowbrook. One day, Timmy received a special letter. It was an invitation to receive an award for his commitment to keeping promises and making a positive impact in the community. Timmy was overjoyed and proud of what he had accomplished. At the award ceremony, Timmy stood before a large crowd. He expressed his gratitude to everyone and encouraged them to always keep their promises. He believed that even small acts of kindness could make a big difference in the world. The story of Timmy and the forgotten promise continued to be shared in Willowbrook for many generations. People never forgot the significance of promises and kindness. Timmy grew up to be a kind and caring young man. He carried the values he learned from the old man with him throughout his life, always striving to make a positive difference in the world. The forgotten promise taught everyone in Willowbrook that even the smallest act of kindness and keeping a promise could change lives and create a community filled with love and compassion. The spirit of Timmy and the old man's forgotten promise would always be cherished in the hearts of the people of Willowbrook. And so, with their acts of kindness, Timmy and his friends showed the power of promises and the importance of helping others. They made their town a better place, one small act at a time, and they lived happily ever after. Timmy and his friends continued their mission of keeping promises and helping others in Willowbrook. They formed the Promise Club, and their acts of kindness spread throughout the town. People admired their dedication and wanted to be a part of the positive change they were bringing. One day, Timmy and his friends received a special request. It was from Mrs. Jenkins, an elderly lady who lived alone in a small house at the edge of town. She had heard about the Promise Club and reached out for help. When Timmy and his friends visited Mrs. Jenkins, they were taken aback by the condition of her house. It was in desperate need of repair, and the garden was overgrown with weeds. Mrs. Jenkins explained that she had always dreamed of having a beautiful garden, but age and physical limitations prevented her from tending to it. Timmy and his friends knew they had to help Mrs. Jenkins. They rolled up their sleeves and got to work. They repaired the broken windows, painted the walls, and fixed the leaky roof. The transformation was remarkable. Next, they turned their attention to the garden. They spent hours pulling out the weeds and planting colorful flowers. Mrs. Jenkins watched with tears of joy in her eyes as her dream garden began to take shape. The Promise Club continued to visit Mrs. Jenkins, helping her with everyday tasks and providing companionship. They learned so much from her stories and wisdom. Mrs. Jenkins became a beloved member of the Promise Club, and her house became a symbol of hope and love in the community. Word about the Promise Club and their good deeds spread beyond Willowbrook. People from neighboring towns started to hear about their incredible acts of kindness. They wanted to join the club and be a part of the positive change. The Promise Club expanded, and its members grew in number. Together they embarked on various projects to make a difference in the lives of others. They organized food drives to help those in need, volunteered at the local animal shelter, and held charity events to raise funds for important causes. The impact of the Promise Club was felt far and wide. Their kindness and compassion inspired people from all walks of life. The town of Willowbrook became known for its spirit of community and the power of keeping promises. One day, a group of visitors arrived in Willowbrook. They were reporters from a national newspaper who had heard about the Promise Club and wanted to share their story with the world. Timmy and his friends were excited, but also nervous about the attention. The reporters spent days with the Promise Club, interviewing members and witnessing their acts of kindness. They saw firsthand the love and care that went into keeping promises and making a positive impact on the lives of others. Finally, the article was published. The Promise Club and the town of Willowbrook became known as a shining example of how kindness could change the world. The story touched the hearts of people everywhere, and they were inspired to start their own Promise Clubs in their communities. The Promise Club of Willowbrook became a symbol of hope and unity. Timmy and his friends were proud of what they had achieved, but they knew their work was not done. They continued to keep their promises and help others, knowing that small acts of kindness could create ripples of positive change. Years passed, and the Promise Club of Willowbrook continued to thrive. New members joined, and the legacy of Timmy and his friends lived on. The town became a beacon of kindness, and people from all over would come to visit and learn from their example. Timmy, now a grown man, reflected on the journey he had taken. From a small act of kindness to a movement that had touched countless lives, he knew that the power of keeping promises and helping others was truly limitless. And so, the story of the Promise Club and the town of Willowbrook served as a reminder to everyone that no act of kindness is too small, and that promises, no matter how forgotten, can be fulfilled with love and determination. They showed the world that even in the simplest of actions, there lies the potential to change lives and create a better, more compassionate world for all.